In this video, I want to go over some settings and preferences that I have changed from the Inkscape defaults to better suit my needs for making SVG files for cutting. I've had a lot of questions about how do I get 3 bars up here. A lot of people only have 2 and they have 1 over here. These are your snapping tools, which I find for making SVG files for cutting, I don't use a lot. So, but to get all 3 of the bars up there, like I've had in my 20 plus videos, you just go to View, Custom. There's Wide, which only leaves the option bar up there for each tool. Every time you click on a different tool, it gives you different options you can use with it. From now on, though, I am going to use the default because, as I said, I don't use snapping much at all for making SVG files for cutting. So the next one I want to go over is the page border. I've had questions, how do I shut this off? Go to File, Document Properties, and under Display, Show Page Border. Uncheck that. I want you to keep in mind, though, if you do that and you make an SVG file and you save it outside of that page border, and you have a file extension so that when you open your folders, that you can see the picture rather than just the Internet Explorer emblem or the Inkscape logo. If you save an SVG outside of that page border, you won't be able to see it. So it needs to be within that page border, okay? The spacebar toggle, I do use a lot. I haven't used it because I didn't want to throw so much at you all off the bat. I wanted you to get used to using these up here and a few of the other shortcuts that I've went over and over in many videos. The spacebar toggle, if I draw a square and I want to select it, I can hit the spacebar. And if I hit the spacebar again, it takes me back to the tool that I used previously to hitting the spacebar. All right, so if I draw 3 circles here and, oh, I want to move that one, so I'm going to hit the spacebar, I'm going to move it, and I need another circle, so I'm going to hit the spacebar again. It's going to take me back to that circle, okay? That's how you use that. So I'll hit the spacebar, and then I'll select that all and get rid of that. Preferences is a lot, but I'm just going to go over a few things. You can check it out and see what you might want to change. In tools, I don't really change anything. The interface, I don't really change anything. Behavior, under scrolling down at the bottom, if you check mouse wheel zooms by default, it will, your mouse wheel, if you roll it down, it zooms out, and roll it up, it zooms in. And also steps. I changed my inset outset to a 1/2 pixel. I could probably get away with having it at 1 pixel, but for certain things, I only want a 1/2 pixel. So that's where I leave it. I would much rather use an outset or inset 3 or 4 times than to use it only once and have it too much because it's set too high. So I have mine changed at to 0.5000. You can change it to 1 point, all zeros, or however you want to set it, whichever works best for you. I think pretty much, well, there is actually a lot under the tools. Okay, let me go over this right quick. Now this is going to work for all of your shapes, your pencil, your pen, everything. I'm going to go over the last used style and this tool's own style. If I do this, draw 4 squares, they're all orange, okay? That's because it's set at last used style. If I draw a square and I turn it red and I have a black stroke, can't really see that, can you? Let me go to my fill and stroke, and I'll put a 8-point stroke on that so you can see it. Now, if I check, well, first I have to select it. If I check this tool's own style and take from selection, now every time I go to my square and draw out a square, it's going to draw a red fill with an 8-point stroke, okay? And you can set that for everything, however you want it to start when you start drawing, okay? For all those tools. And then that's all I'm going to go over in that. So let me select all of that, get rid of that. Display mode. If you want to see where your cutter is going to cut, go to View, Display Mode, Outline. I'll work in this a lot of times. I won't even work where I can see the actual color of something, just because I want to be able to see my cut lines. As you can tell, these are cut lines. This is text, so it's not a cut line yet, and that's why it's like that. And also, I've had someone contact me more than one time and say, I got an image off of Etsy and I have it in display mode, outline, and I have a red X on it. Well, that's because when they made the SVG file, they never got rid of the original image. So this, if you look, is a path. And this here, even though you can't see it, is the image. But if you go back to View Display Mode Normal, you'll see that this is the image that they got this path from. All right. So that's display mode. Outline shows your cut lines. If you click on fill and stroke and it doesn't pop up over here, sorry, or your align and distribute, it doesn't pop up over here. If you go to let's see, object fill and stroke, and it still doesn't pop up, that's because at some point you have hit this little triangle pointing to the left, iconify this dock, rather than closing it out. Okay, so if I close out fill and stroke and then I try to open it, it's going to open up over here. All right. If you have to scroll down to get to your align and distribute, if you just grab inside that box somewhere and you pull it up, you have align and distribute open and fill and stroke open, and you have to scroll down to get to all your options for fill and stroke. Left click inside that fill and stroke box and pull it up into the align and distribute box, and you'll see like a box, a bounding box, and let go of your mouse. It will put them underneath like this, and then you don't have to scroll, you just have to click to get back and forth. Okay, so stroke with no opacity. So let me draw a circle. Let me go back to my fill and stroke. I've also had a lot of people say that they have drawn a circle and all they can see is their bounding box and they don't have any color. They can't put any color in it. That's because your alpha channel is probably all the way down. It needs to be set at 255 to be opaque, and also your opacity should be at 100% for that to be opaque as well. Your fill and stroke, this is how you turn it on, this is how you turn it off. Your stroke, this is how you turn it off, this is how you turn it on. Okay. So that's that. Let me simplify. I use not a whole lot, but I do use it quite often. And what it does is it reduces the number of nodes in an SVG file, okay? This has 59 nodes, but I already know that I have used that because I know how many nodes it normally has, and I was messing around with images previously, so let me go back and see if I can find that again. Here he is. All right, let me ungroup them. Now I have 169 nodes. The less nodes, the better your machine is gonna cut it, or like to cut it, should I say. So if you go to Path Simplify, it's going to reduce those nodes from 169 to 58. It cut it in to about 2/3, okay? You, of course, want to check it because it does distort it some. Here's my original with 169, and then here is my simplified. So you can see how it changed it some. But you can use it. You can Control Z out of it if it doesn't look good, but give it a try. And some keyboard shortcuts. I've made up a list, and you can pause the video and write them down and have them next to your laptop or wherever and get used to using them. Because I'm not going to keep going to, after 20 some videos, I'm not going to, keep going to this is where group is, or Control G, or object group. By now, I would think that if you've watched all of the 22 or 3 or 4 videos that I have on my YouTube channel, that you know where group and ungroup is, or how to get there, okay? But these are just single letters, but they don't always work. And let me give you an instance. Let me type out a word. And let's say I want to go to my selection tool by hitting the space bar. Well, I'm in the text tool, so all that did was put a space behind my letter O. Okay, so that's what I mean by it doesn't always work. But for the most part, they do. So if I hit the letter N, it gives me my node tool. If I hit the letter S, it gives me my selection tool. If I hit the Z, it gives me my little magnifying glass, and I can select a area and zoom in on it. Now these red lines are through here because I really don't use these tools for making SVG files. But if you can get used to or if you can memorize these or get used to using these, it will make your life a lot faster in Inkscape. Okay, so just go ahead and write those down. You don't need the spacebar toggle written down, but you can pause the video. I hope that you guys will understand a little bit more now about how to get to things, how to turn things on or turn things off, or find things if they seem to be hidden, or turn your fill on if it seems to be off, and things like that. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me in my next video.